Hi everyone, this video is for those who can understand English and also speak English but not very much satisfied with the fluency. So this video is for those who want to improve their fluency in English. In one of my earlier videos also, I have talked about my own personal experiences and a few things which I have done in my life to improve my English fluency. And this video is going to particularly focus on one tip which will definitely enable to improve our fluency in English. So that tip is what I call narration. I'm sure you must have heard the word narration. Generally in our life, what do we narrate? We narrate stories, we narrate experiences, and we also narrate jokes, correct? So this tip called narration is a very important tip that will help us improve our fluency in English. So what are we going to do in this narration? You have a very simple task to do. When you get some free time, you take your mobile phone, you go to the Google and simply type children's stories. And when you type children's stories, you will find a lot many stories, correct? You pick up any story. You select any story. Now you read the story, practice it, and once you are done with that, narrate the story aloud. Don't narrate it in your mind. Narrate the story aloud. And here, the most important thing is, when you start narrating the story, it has to go in a single flow. This narration should not have too many breaks. For example, you started narrating a story and you are stuck somewhere in the middle of the narration. So the game is over. Again, go back to the beginning, start from the beginning. So you practice it so many times so that your narration has to go in a single flow. This is what we call narration. You can narrate a story, or you also can narrate an experience. We all have a lot of experiences in our lives, correct? So you remember one experience and practice it and narrate your experience aloud. And again, the task is your narration has to go in a single flow. You cannot have much breaks, too many breaks in your narration. You can ask me why and how will this narration exercise help? How will this narration help? The answer is very simple. What is the biggest problem in fluency is stammering, correct? Sometimes when we keep talking in English, there is a problem called stammering, or another problem called stuttering. Stuttering is at times you are stuck and you make some unnecessary sounds, or another problem called fumbling, a kind of difficulty in the speech. So usually three problems that are found in communication that disturb the fluency. Number one, stammering. Number two, stuttering. Number three, fumbling. So if you avoid these three problems, I'm sure fluency comes to you. And how do we avoid these problems? The solution is only one. There has to be a coordination, which is very important in the fluency. There has to be a coordination between the words running inside your mind and the mouth, correct? I'll give you a very simple exercise. I'll give you a very simple example. Do you remember your childhood days when you played something called video game for the first time? I remember my school days for the first time when I played a video game which was gifted to me by my uncle. And on the very first day of the video game, I used to look at my remote control when I was playing the game. Why I was looking at my remote control? Because that was the first day I didn't know which button should I press and how. And later on, we don't look at our remote control, right? We only look at the television when you play the video game or a PlayStation, correct? I'll give you one more example. Do you remember the first day of the first day when you rode your bike? So on the very first day when you rode your bike, the coordination was a problem. There has to be a coordination among your brake, clutch and accelerator. And do you remember in the beginning of your learning process how to ride a bike, we used to look at our clutch. And later on, we don't care. Understand the fact. Coordination is a slow process and you have to train yourself to get that coordination. Likewise, if you really want your English to be fluent, do what is to be done. And what is to be done is this. Practice the coordination. Practice the coordination between your words running in your mind and your speech. And this training process is what I am asking you to do. Train your mind. Train yourselves to improve your fluency, and that training happens only when you practice something called narrating a story in a single flow or narrating an experience. I'll give you an example by which you will understand better. Let me pick up a story, Thirsty Crow. I'm very sure that you all know a very famous story called Thirsty Crow, which we have studied and practiced so much in our school days. I'll try to narrate this Thirsty Crow story to you and I'll try to go in a single flow. One day there is a crow. It was very thirsty. It started searching for water here and there. At last it found some water in a pot, but the water was very less. It got an idea. It collected some stones and dropped them in the pot. The water came up. The crow drank the water and flew away happily. Thank God, I went on a single flow. So this is what I'm asking you guys to do. If you're seriously, if you're genuinely looking at improving your English language fluency, it cannot happen when you just read a book. It has to happen when you do a lot of things, especially training yourself. So you pick up a story, you pick up an experience, you pick up a joke and try to narrate it so much, practice it so much, and that narration has to go in a single flow. So I've given you an example how to narrate a story. I'll also do one thing. I'll try to narrate to you an experience. I remember in the year 2013, that was my birthday, and I was working in engineering college. Even though that was my birthday, I went to my office, I went to my college as usual, and that day I was very much tired. It was 5:36 p.m. I returned home, and like I said, I was very much tired, and I went home, and to my big surprise, when I reached my home was completely filled with balloons, and to my surprise, some of my students were waiting for me with a birthday cake. So they planned my birthday celebration, and it was a very big surprise to me, and I could never forget it. That was a memorable incident in my life, a very happy birthday to me that day. So like this, guys, you can take a story from the internet, you can recall your own life experience, write it, put it on a paper, read it, practice it, and the challenge is once you start narrating it, practice it so much that your narration has to go in a single flow. This will really help you train yourself. It will train your mind. It will improve your coordination between the words and the speech. I hope this will help you, and all the best.